Bristol. Okay. But that wasn't the norm. And I guess that's what I'm saying. That wasn't the norm back then. Guys, they'll rub, they'll race, they'll bump and bang, okay, especially on the short tracks. Richmond's a 3/4 mile track, okay. It's all part of it, I get it. But to drive straight into the back of a guy, smash him, send him off flying, and drive through it and win, that's the new norm at the Cup level.
That's what we're boxing.
I'd rather be a boxer.
Yeah.
At least there's some honor in that, right? What are you laughing about, LA?
They asked to post a number, I did, and then they don't do nothing.
Well, well, they really did. They really wanted you. Yeah, it's up there. Call us. We'll put you on the air. I just want to see if there's any. Maybe I'm missing something. If there's any way to defend that, let me know. If you're against it, let me know. I want to discuss it because horrible. That never happened on dirt track. Well, it would happen, but you wouldn't get the win. When I say that's what I mean. You wouldn't get the win. You certainly aren't going to get a paycheck out of that. You're going to get a DQ, no pay.
Yeah. There's this.
You got your gears turning. I can see you, and I know I've known you a long time, G. When you get turning like this, you've got some stuff going on. I want to know what's going on. Tell me. Just don't be afraid. Say it.
The frustrations that I see out there, with it's not just NASCAR. It's happening everywhere. You look at other tracks.
At all levels, yeah.
All levels of racing. It just seems like, is it just an aggression thing? Is it an anger thing? Is it the full moon? What is it? What is it that's, even in NASCAR, you're not paying for your program by a victory.
Not even close.
And it doesn't matter what level of racing you're at. It's not making anybody money, really. Nobody's really getting rich anymore unless they're getting the advertising dollars from their teams.
That's where the money comes in for NASCAR car owners.
Yeah.
It's the Budweiser, it's the Havoline, it's the big $20 million sponsorships that be on those cars. That's where the owners are making their money.
Yeah.
They're not making their money off the paydays, what they're making at those races.
No.
That doesn't pay their weekend. If a guy goes out, let's say a guy goes out and let's just say he wins $200,000 for winning a Cup race. That's not going to cover the weekend for that team to go race.
No.
Transportation, you got fuel, you got lodging for your whole team. You got to feed those guys. You've got the tire bill, the NASCAR level is ridiculous. Okay, those four things alone are, that's going to eat up a lot of your money right there.
And you lose a race car, then what? Now you're really in the hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are $200,000, $250,000 cars. They're making their money off of what sponsors they can get. Look at the sponsors on cars now versus when we were kids. What we got? Larry Elliott? Oh, Chappie. So he says you were discussing sprint car pay. Corey Day is well over $250,000 this year with more big payouts still to come. He just graduated from high school. Okay, let's talk about how much he's taken home. What's his percentage of that 250, or is that what he's taken? Is that what he's actually won? Because the car owner's not going to give the driver everything. He's going to have something. It's probably, what is he getting? Bubba Hogan says Dylan's a dirtbag.
I've seen that a few times in there. Yeah.
I'd like to know what percentage Corey Day, and very talented, very talented young man in the 410 sprint cars. We had to watch him last year at Willamette with the NARC cars that come through. Very talented. Got a bright future ahead of him. But that's, $250,000 for a kid coming out of high school. Yeah. Racing wasn't like that when we were kids. You won gas money, you were happy. You know what I'm saying? Now, what's that? Well, yeah, especially at the level we're at, the dirt track level. It's still a grassroots thing. I don't care if you're in a $100,000 late model. It's still about grassroots racing. It's still about having fun. All of that's going away right now. I mean, we're not even having fun at the dirt track level anymore because guys are starting to race like they're at the cup level, and it's getting way out of hand. Cars are getting wrecked. Guys are acting like they're entitled to wins. You know what I'm saying? It's just maybe it's just the driver mentality's changed than what we're used to. I don't know. Something's different in the sport today.
Definitely different.
Good old racing. Go out there, have fun, and enjoy the night. Like hometown track.
Right.
Go out there and put on a show.
Right.
That's what I
Those days are getting less and less. Keiko's got a great point. What happened to the camaraderie?
Yeah.
You know? And I can talk about our track. You know, I mean, I can talk about our track, and it's a natural evolution of what happened at Willamette with the infield. Remember the days of the infield when all the cars were on the infield?
Yep.
There was way more camaraderie at Willamette when we had them on the infield. Now
Rubbing elbows.
we were all together. We were all together, and guys would jump in and help each other out, and we were all contained in the bullpen.
You
You
were
know,
stuck.
yeah. Now you're in the great big pit area out back. Everybody's spread apart, and you know there's been some generational change with new drivers coming in, old guys leaving. You know, again, different generations, different mentalities. We're just at a really weird time in the sport. You know what I mean? I mean, camaraderie. Well, because they don't know anything yet. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the other thing I noticed, you know, having the dwarf cars come through, you know, you look at those clubs, you look at those teams, you look at the camaraderie they have.
I was blown away. I was blown away by that Nationals event we just held
Yes.
with the dwarf cars. All those clubs, Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada, Arizona, all these different clubs coming together. We didn't have any problems. There was guys jumping in to help each other out, and it was like, wow, I remember those days. I remember when it was like that.
It reminded me of the 90s.
It did. Really did. It was a fun event.
Yeah. Every night they all
3 nights in a row. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Larry, because after the races, the club, the host club, which was the Northwest Dwarf Car Association, had brought in massive amounts of tables and chairs, and they fed everybody. Everybody sat at tables, had a meal, talked and laughed and joked and highlights about the day, and they gave away awards. And I'm going, wow, this is different. It was great. You know, I wish it was like that all the time.
But I do see it, though. I saw some pretty good camaraderie with the Hornet class. A couple different people offered up race cars for someone that got their car totaled out one evening.
I wasn't there when that happened, but I did hear about it. Let's talk about that wreck real quick while we're still in this camaraderie and the state of racing and how things are going at different levels. Megan White's wreck. I mean, you guys were there. You saw it firsthand.
I missed it,
Well,
but I saw the very last roll.
right.
Yes.
Kind of happened in your area, but first and foremost, that is one tough girl. She's 19 years old. That car went over almost 4 times, and it went over hard. Couple things in that whole, and I made a post about it. I know people probably saw it. I made a post about the accident. I think it was her dad that posted the video. And I watched it over and over and over like everybody else. Then I quit watching the accident. And I got to see something different from the other side of the racetrack. From that angle, I don't normally get to see because I'm on the other side. If you watch that video that Kyle White, her dad Kyle, posted, I tell everybody, I've told several people, no, go watch this. Her car is still rolling down the backstretch when the safety team has their lights on and they're en route to the accident. We've got one, I don't know who it is, I can't tell by the video, one of our safety guys, or maybe they're from the tow team, on foot, sprinting to the wreck as the car's coming to a stop upside down. Safety team was awesome. Jeremy Stinnett and his crew. I'm going to give those guys major kudos on this deal. Andy Brashears. Andy was on his belly in that smash down. Andy's a big man. We know how big Andy is. That is a big boy right there. He got in that car with Megan to comfort her and say, listen, You're going to be okay. Here's what we're going to do. This is how we're going to handle this. He's in the car, and they're like, we're flipping the car over. I'm like, you're not touching this car. Get the cables off it. This is not the time for this. And he's in there. So he's in there handling business, talking with her, getting her calmed down. Master job of doing it. I mean, that changed everything on that scene. When we got out to the scene, Dr. Tom Steele and I, Tom took lead. Safety team helped out. Safety team got the neck collar out. They're the ones that put the neck collar on Megan after Tom and Jeremy had made their assessment. They said, okay, this is what we need to do just to be safe. Good call. Called the ambulance. She went to the ambulance, helmet with her, to make sure that they need to x-ray it to see if there's any cracks, whatever. They handled this situation incredible. We had a couple of those incidents. Callie White in the 17 dwarf car, she went over 4 times. Our guys were right there. Bam. But everybody came together. Her parents were on scene. They were, he's the fire chief of his local community. And he came up. I was talking to him. I said, I know, your dad, da-da-da. He says, yeah. And I said, I know you're a fire chief. I know you're an EMT. I said, hang out. I said, you've got emotions here. Let these guys handle it. He says, not a problem. They were totally calm. I couldn't believe how calm her parents stayed or showed. I'm sure they weren't inside, but wonderful people. What a night that was. We had 4 or 5 rollovers that night. But everybody came together, and then everybody afterwards at the dinner, it was just kind of like people are jumping in, helping work on each other's cars to get them back out there. We had, was it 6 or 7 cars actually flip on the first day, or over the weekend, I'm sorry, but there was 4 or 5 the first day. A couple of those cars should not have been back on the track. But because of those guys coming together the way they did, Callie White, I never thought that car, I thought she was done for the weekend.
That was a hard hit, too.
She rolled over 4 times hard.
She got hit midair by another car.
Yeah. The girl in the white car, 17. But look at all those crews coming together to help out.
Mm-hmm.
That was kudos to those clubs. I mean, that was we had 102 cars total Friday night. We had 96. I think it was 96 on night 2. What's that, a 99 car average for the weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty darn good. No problems with the dwarf cars.
You know what it reminds me of? I mean, I don't know if you run car clubs, mini truck clubs.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
I'm a mini trucker from back in the day. So people that know me for a long time know that I used to be in the mini trucks.
Yep.
Back in my what do you call it?
Wild teen days?
Yeah, that and my Claimer car.
Oh, yeah.
4-cylinder cars back in the day at Eugene. Being in a car club, you got that sense of camaraderie. All the guys helping each other out to get the car show ready, putting on and doing car shows and everything else. It just kind of reminded me of that with those dwarf car guys. Something interesting.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff. It's just and another person I want to put a shout out to, Cody Cormican. That young man is huge help when he comes in, and we had a really good group of guys there, and I'm glad that everybody that was there that night or that weekend was there, because we needed them, But the camaraderie, that's kind of what we're talking about here. We're talking about the camaraderie, and we're talking about peoples and the attitudes of sport, in this current era we're in with motorsports. From dirt on up, mostly that we're discussing the NASCAR incident. Things have been a little wild. With racing as a whole, like you said a couple minutes ago, on all levels, Gary. What do you do to change that? Because I'm going to tell you something funny that I saw. On social media. Guys drivers. I won't say guys. There's some gals out there, but mostly it's the dudes. Complete lack of patience. Complete lack of respect for each other. Destroying cars, wrecking cars, beating each other up, then getting on social media and barking. Something else has changed from our generation. That didn't happen. Prior to social media, you got out of your car and you settled it with the boys in the pit area. Now it's this social media bark, 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 and then when you get to the track, you avoid that guy you're barking at. You know, after you've hit him 3 or 4 times, and you know, and you're yelling for black flags. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was put out there. It was a big, huge discussion. Don't think we didn't see it. We heard you. You know, it goes right along with what we're talking about at the level, you know, drive up someone's tailpipe, spin them, beat the hell out of them, and then complain about not getting black flags. Well, careful what you wish for. You know what I mean? What do you change? What do you do? Because I guarantee you the first time you throw a black flag, who's going to be barking? Who's going to be online, running their mouth, barking, and you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a nature. It's just today's world. Cannot make everybody happy or anybody happy at this point. No. You know what I mean? It's just the whole state of racing with and I'm not going to say the older generation. They don't do it. Most of this new generation, and when I say new generation, I'm talking guys that are probably 30 and under, want everything their way. When they don't get it, they're mad. And then when they ask for something and they've got to follow that rule and you give it to them, they're mad. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to make certain people happy, certain age groups. I'm talking people as a whole, age groups. You're not going to make them happy. The older guys will be like, yeah, okay, well, on to the next one.
You get what you get. You don't throw a fit.
It's a different world, Keiko. It's a different world.
You know what I remember?
I'm listening.
You said something earlier that kind of, that's why I was chuckling a little bit.
Okay.
Remember the nickel ads?
Yeah, I remember the nickel ads.
Yeah. So that was the social media back in the day.
It kind of was.
What was funny was you could post anything you want in the nickel ads or even the personal sections of the registered guard. I was from Eugene.
Okay.
You know, and so you go through the paper. My dad sometimes, he was always the first one to read the paper. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you hear him laughing. So you wake up, you get out of bed, you go out there on a Sunday morning and what went to print? Something that happened at the racetrack the night before. And it's usually some sort of a battle. Then the next day you'll see something battled back about that. That was the social media back in the day.
You know, and I'll tell you right now, I will take newspapers over social media any day. I'm telling you. Yeah. We had a whole lot. Social media is one of the worst things that's ever happened to mankind. Yeah. It really is.
Technology, period.
Okay. Going along with all the stuff we're talking about. It's good for promotional use, you know, to get your name out there, to highlight what's going on at your racetrack or whatever your event is. It doesn't have to be a racetrack. It can be any event. It's good for that. What it's bad for is, I don't know, friendship, marriage, work, parenting. I mean, it's because your kids see the stupid stuff you post. It's bad. I mean, how many divorces are social media responsible for? How many jobs have people lost because, you know, the employer saw, oh, you think this is the worst place in the world? Get your stuff and get out. They get fired for it. Yeah. You know, how many guys have been kicked out of racetracks for running their mouth about the track, and then they can show up and they want to be part of what you're doing. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same principle, you know. Get on the track, get on social media and slam your track and talk about how bad it is, and, you know, because you think something should be different, or you think it should be ran different, or you didn't get a call that went your way. So now you got to go out and slam the staff, and you got to slam the track, and you got to slam the fans or whoever you're PO'd off, you know, at the time. And then show up the next weekend like everything's all right, and people have memories. People see that. People read it, you know. And then you're backtracking and you're apologizing, you're deleting your post, and it's like nobody thinks about anything before they do it. They just get on there, and their feelings are what matter most in today's world with this younger generation. My feelings. What happened to the men that race cars? What happened to the men that, that used to rule this world? I mean, I'm saying rule the world, but, even politics is a joke with social media. Everything, it's destroyed everything. Nothing out there. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's fake. You don't know who or what to believe or when to believe it. It's I hate social media. I hate it for the reason of what it's doing to people. It's ruining a lot.
Guess what? We got AI coming.
Oh yeah, that's gonna make everything 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Because it's.
Have you used ChatGPT yet?
Nope.
You should try it.
Nope.
It's
not,
scary.
Not doing it.
It's scary.
You will not see me. I will use as little AI as I can. Seriously. I want nothing to do with that stuff. That I'm telling you. Listen to me. I'm calling my shot right now. AI will be the destruction of this world.
It will.
AI will destroy mankind. It'll destroy this planet.
I've seen it in movies. And everything that happens in movies 20 years ago has already happened now.
Think about this. Okay, think about where we're at with AI. Okay, while we're talking social media and how bad everything is. Okay. We should all remember this. We're all in the same age group. Okay. Go back. Yeah, Keiko might not. It's probably no. Well, I know, but it's probably right on the edge of your timeline. We're all 50. Keiko's not. We're all 50. Okay. Let's go. Okay, but 4 years is now in the age group I'm talking. 4 years is a lot. Take it back, guys, when we're 12 to 14 years old. Maybe even 10 to 12 years old. Does anybody remember the movie The Lawnmower Man? What was that movie all about? What was it all about? It's all about AI. And AI takes over and does what? It ruined everything, right? We're on that same. It might be 30 years later, 40 years later, but that's exactly what's going on.
Eagle Eye.
Was that the name?
Eagle Eye was another movie.
Oh, Eagle Eye. I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it had like Shia LaBeouf or something in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But really, I look at the world now and I go, Idiocracy.
Everywhere.
Great movie. Great movie.
Never saw it.
Dak Shepard.
No, never saw it.
I idolize that dude.
So do we use? Okay, here's a question: do we use like NASCAR? Is this the new marketing? Talking social media. Is this the new marketing for racetracks? Do we put the wrecks out there and we put the intent? A guy intentionally wrecking the guy and maybe possibly hurting him. Is that how we market our tracks now? Because that's what NASCAR does. Okay, and then what's going to happen when someone gets hurt and they use that clip? Because they're getting bold. It's or what happens when AI says, you know what? AI just makes the commercial or makes the spot, the ad, whatever, and the guy flips and gets killed, and then it's on there, and you know what I mean? It's social media sucks. Wait, and I'm glad you said that, Larry, because I had a guy yell at me. I literally had a guy yell at me after we had a big wreck, and it was a driver, of all things, yell at me because his dad couldn't see the wreck at home on TV. When there's a wreck like that and you got a car upside down and people potentially hurt, do you think we or anybody else would have a brain and leave the camera on that for people at home to watch? Why would you do that?
It's like that one that just came out where the guy was on fire jumping out of his sprint car.
And they left the camera on. My guys don't do that. When Larry got here and we started this whole thing, we went hard on the Speed Union platform. Even when, we had other people that were helping out. One thing I always said, do not, when there's a wreck, if it's bad, there's a couple of guys banging, they spin where guys are getting, that's nothing. When there's a real wreck, 6, 7 car pileup, cars are upside down, fire, whatever, and safety teams are involved, we're not going to put that on TV for people to watch.
No, why would you want to show some sort of live carnage like that?
Right. Out of respect for the families, right. Okay, so I got a driver yelling at me because his dad can't see it, okay? And, okay, maybe his dad didn't see that his son's car wasn't in the wreck, okay? That might be a valid point, okay? Maybe he wants to know if his son's okay. We have these things called phones, and everybody's got them in their hands constantly. Quick text. under red flag, you're out of your car, whatever. Let's think about what we're doing here. Let's have some respect for the guys that are in this wreck, potentially hurt. We don't know. Put the camera on the American flag. That's what you're going to get a lot with us. We're not going to put that out there. Now, we do have cameras recording everything, obviously for insurance reasons. Because if something is wrong, and it does go that far into court or whatever, or there's an injury, people want to see what happened. Well, now they got a record of it. Now they can analyze it and say, okay, this is this. But why would you ever use that in marketing? Why would you make that that's not a highlight for your track, right? I mean, this is my opinion. I can say it. It's my opinion. Everybody's different, There may be some people that show up to the racetrack just to see the wrecks.
There's a lot of people like that.
And that's sad.
It is.
I'm there to see the end. I want to see guys with talent. I want to see, and this. Okay, I had while we're talking about this, I had a meeting this week. Here we go. What's this?
This was 4 days ago.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Perfect example why you stop filming.
Right. This driver died in this wreck 4 days ago. And I mean, but you want to put that on TV for everybody to see. That's a Neanderthal attitude.
Kind of morbid.
Beyond morbid. A great meeting with an individual this week, and one of the topics that came up was inverts. And this is going along. End of the show coming up, the All-Star 100, which is it's an Iron Giant race. Okay, they typically run a little different format, but the invert was discussed. I'm there to see the fast guys start, but that's what I grew up watching. Okay, that's my normal. I don't want to see fast guys up front. We talked about how do you do it? What's the right way to do it? I think the right way to do it is what we're doing now. You put the fast guys in the back off qualifying, make them race their way to the front.
Here's the deal, because in 100 laps, you got plenty of time to get it done. You're not going to win it on the first lap.
Thank you. You got plenty of time to do it in 40 laps.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And we see it all the time.
Yes.
More often than not. But there's certain formats that guys like, certain formats that I would never institute. Sometimes you change it up, make it a special event, whatever. I get it. Like we're going to do for the Iron Giant. That's coming up. We'll talk about that later. But it was interesting, and we'll talk about this as we get into that Iron Giant segment. But it was interesting to talk about the inverts because I think off of that you get a lot of highlights to market your social media. It comes with the fast guys coming to the back. It's awesome footage. I think it's awesome marketing for the fans that are in the stands for the first time, or they're new, been there 3, 4, 5 times, and they see some of our fast guys. And we know who they are. We don't have to name their names. We've got those 5, 6, 8 guys that are super fast that always start in the back, and they drive their way to the front, and one of them wins. Okay? But watching... I apologize. The Moxie Media Studio can get a little wild sometimes. I was talking about inverts. Driving to the front. If you're a fan, let's just say you're new to the track. You sit in the stands. You got 20 late models, 20 street stocks, 20 I don't care what the class is. And the guy that starts in the back row passes all those cars in front of him and gets the win. The entertainment and the action you got watching that, you're coming back. Now if that guy does it from the front row, big deal.
That's what hooked me as a kid, was watching the fast cars come from the back.
And when we were kids,
and lap the field again.
Right. When we were kids, who were those guys? Mark Howard, Russ Sell, Tom Wagner, Bob Jeffrey, Bob Boyd,
Marv Martin.
Marv Martin, your guys down Bugby.
Yep.
Did you ever hear those guys complain about starting to the back? Where'd they want to start?
They want to start in the back. They want to put on a show.
They want to put on a show. They want those championship points. They get the passing points, right? You don't have to win every race to win a title. You know what I mean? Those guys wanted to start back there. Different world. Different world today. The whole world of racing is it's.
Here's the way I look at it. You start in the front, if you're that fast and you're going to catch that group of cars, you're starting to pass cars anyways in 2-3 laps.
Right.
You're doing the same damn thing.
Not really.
Really?
Not really, because those guys that start last, they're a lap down in 3 laps. What makes them want to come back to the track? Where's their incentive to come back? Take those guys, put them in the front row, and they lead the first 4 or 5 laps. Those guys felt like Superman for a day. Those guys feel like, you know what? I got a shot. I can still run with these guys. I might not have the best equipment. I might not have the most of money, the most of funds, but I can start up here. I can make the show from the front row, second row, third row. I can get to the front, still lead, have a good time racing with these high-end guys with $100,000 cars, still race side by side or race with them for the lead. They're coming back. I mean, NASCAR says they do it for a safety reason. Whatever. I guess I can understand that on a track 2.5 miles where you're doing 200 miles an hour. I can understand that. Put the fast guys up front, whatever. But on the dirt track, in our world, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm the biggest Scott Bloomquist fan you're going to find. Well, there's probably I'm the third biggest Scott Bloomquist fan I know 2 guys that are way more hardcore about Bloomquist than I am, Scott Byram and Bob Jeffrey. But Scott Bloomquist is all about, I should be on the front row. I won my race. I earned the right to be there. Okay. I love you, Scott, but I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you. Entertainment value. I'm talking about entertainment value. I'm talking about what makes people want to come to your track. Look at Sandy. She's just like cruising through the studio, just packing boxes. And you're not going to find a harder working woman in motorsports in our area. You won't. Not harder than Sandy. No way. She is a monster. She's a monster, but I appreciate her. I appreciate everything she does for that racetrack, and everybody else probably should too. I want people to call. I want someone to call in. Let's talk. Let's get these people. Let's get someone on the air. Where's Ryan Nelson? Wasn't he asking for the phone?
Chickened out. I think he had to go.
His wife wouldn't let him.
SpongeBob's on. The kid.
Oh.
It's family time right now.
Yeah.
I wasn't making a crack at him.
Oh, yeah, you were.
No.
I was.
Okay. Maybe I was. Come on, Ryan.
I want someone to call in. I want to have a discussion. I want people's. This is Under the Hood. This is what we do. We get under the hood. We talk about real stuff. You're allowed to have an opinion on the show. I don't care what your opinion is. You can say whatever you want. I don't care. We'll discuss whatever you want to talk about. You're allowed to have an opinion. It's called it's freedom of speech. I'm not going to dislike it because you have a different opinion. You don't agree with what we're talking about. I would love to have someone call in and talk about this stuff. This is what Under the Hood is all about. Real stuff, real topics, real thoughts. No pretentious BS. Come on, be yourself. That's what you're going to get on this show. Like it, love it, or hate it. That's the way it's going to be, And that's why we called it Under the Hood. We're getting under the hood and into the guts and getting into what powers this sport.
While we're waiting for somebody to call.
We might be waiting a while. I think people
might be, I think, but
LA's got something for me over here. What do you got, Larry?
Where Ron Skellson says the camera was left on Megan's flip. Yes, it was, but that was because they had already announced that she was okay.
Correct. Nate Ellertson says full invert is great for every class except sprint cars. This is what I'm talking about. You're allowed to have an opinion on the show. Might be different than mine, but great. If that's why should the fast guys in sprint cars not start in the back too? Tell me where the entertainment value is in that. Is it a safety thing? Is this why? Sprint cars should have starters, but that's my opinion. Okay, Nate. Okay, I want to get Nate on here. There's the number right there, 541-497-9016. 541-497-9016. That right there is your call-in number. And Nate's a great dude. I've known Nate a long time. We can talk about stuff. We have some different opinions on stuff. Most of the time we don't. He's from the sprint car world. I'm not, but we still have a difference in opinions on some things. But we've been friends a long time. We can discuss that and talk about it and walk away and shake hands. Be friends. Is that phone light lining up over there, Larry?
No, they ask for numbers and they don't call. I'm watching.
Larry's mad. He's going to throw something at somebody.
Looks like it.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
The lights are lighting up now. Nate Ellerton, what's going on? You are under the hood.
How's it going, man?
Good. How about you?
I'm good, man. Just been listening to under the hood. Got the micro sprint loaded up tonight. Get ready for tomorrow and Saturday. So, yeah, we're just cruising to get a little dinner, the boys and I, and listen under the hood. And thought I'd maybe give an ounce of my opinion here. So.
I respect your opinion. I mean, I respect everybody's opinion. I mean, just because it's different than mine doesn't mean I'm not going to like it. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so my comment about every class but sprint cars full invert, I'm totally in favor of. Sprint cars being open wheel cars, and this is like no disrespect to anybody, but you've seen some of the races that, like wingless races or other races, and there's just kind of those guys that are 2 to 3 seconds off the pace that don't know how to hold the line. And yeah, you gotta be able to drive around them and stuff like that. But you imagine putting them up front, it's, at that point, I'm thinking it's a safety thing with open wheel cars,
See, okay, that's a valid statement. That's
Right.
valid. He's got a justification for what his opinion is, not just because. Okay, for me, it's you got to remember where I'm at and how my mind thinks. I'm talking about the entertainment value to get the fans of the track, to keep them, to keep them.
Well,
What you're
let's
saying holds water, and it's been argued that for years with the sprint cars. But how many times have we seen guys? How many
I will
times?
say this.
Go ahead.
I will say this. Some of the most exciting sprint car races, look at, Wingless Nationals last year. Okay, all the cars that qualified for the A-Main, it was full invert based on points for the weekend for the A-Main on Saturday night.
Okay.
Okay? So, like in our case, we were the last car out of the B-Main, so we were supposed to start pole of the main event. We had engine issues. We dropped to the back. I mean, the next guy slid up, blah, blah, blah. But, it made it exciting. There was also some, carnage that ensued because of it. Because, like I said, you got some guys that are, a second and a half to 3 seconds off the pace, But then you look at, like, Trophy Cup at Tulare. That is full. Their final night A-Main is full invert based off of points for the whole week.
So the guy that scores the most points is starting out back.
He's starting out back.
Huge
and
fan.
I'll tell you this. Okay. And I will tell you this. There's been a handful of times that the guy has come back and he's, a high point guy, and he's won the main event and secured up the points deal. But I would say our regional stuff, you go to an event like Trophy Cup, anybody that's in the A-Main has a chance to win it. They're just that quality of card.
Right.
But when you're talking our regional stuff, the format for the Wingless Sprint Series it's a unique format because they take your points from qualifying in the heat race. You're good enough to make the dash, boom. Wherever you finish the dash is where you start the main. Any of those 6 cars probably are main event winners that make the dash.
Sure. Okay. So let me counter that. Counter that to what you're saying. Do you remember, and it's been a while, but this is your world. We're talking about your world here, sprint cars. I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say it's 90 or 91. Knoxville, Dale Blaney gets challenged to go to the back, and there's bonus money if he wins.
Right.
He started dead last in a 22-car field or whatever they run at Knoxville for the Knoxville Nationals, drove around every car and won the show.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the more impressive one, I think, than that would be, I think it was 2000. early 2000s with Jack Hodenshield at Oskaloosa for the Front Row Challenge. He was slated to start on the front row. He took the thing for $50,000 to go to the back.
Okay, and that's what we're talking about. You just corrected me. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. I had the name wrong. Okay.
Right.
Exactly. He went to the back, and what did he do?
You want to talk about how exciting it was during the cautions? The crowd was chanting, "Go, Jack, go!"
I remember.
Go,
That's
Jack, go.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Did he just say you want to talk about exciting, watching the guy come from the back to the front? Is that what you just said, Nate?
I think I heard that.
You heard it too.
I did. Oskaloosa is a big, wide, half-mile track, much like Knoxville is.
I don't care if it's Oskaloosa or Cottage Grove. It's exciting to watch the guys from the back to the front. What?
You got him.
Wait.
I love you, Nate.
So, like I said,
But with sprint cars being open wheel and as fast as they are, Nate does have a valid point, safety wise. That's what we talked about with NASCAR. It's the same thing. They say it's a safety thing. Okay.
But let me ask you this. Here's my question, because
Okay.
I've been using a lot of.
Is this for me or for Nate?
Everybody.
Okay.
Even everybody out there listening.
Okay.
Freeway analogies I've been using lately.
Okay.
You're merging onto a freeway.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's doing 55 miles an hour.
Not me. I'm doing 75.
Well, sure. But what happens when there's no hole?
You,
Who's checking up?
Not me. I'm getting on the highway.
Oh, come on, bro.
I'm just kidding. No.
So you're gonna run the fire lane. You're gonna run the safety lane and pass those people so you can find a spot to get in. No, not necessarily.
You've got to
It's
use
the
some common
driver's
sense.
Responsibility
Yes.
to use common sense
Yes.
and be safe about their moves.
100%.
And I think the driver is responsible for what happens with that race car on that track.
Right.
100%.
Right.
You want to protect yourself, and you want to protect yourself from others at the same time.
I'm not. There's no argument to that.
40 laps, 50 laps, 100 laps. I don't care.
Right.
If a guy's that fast and he can win, and he can lap a field once or twice in 40 laps,
Yep.
he should be able to make it to the front safely.
Thank you.
That's my opinion.
I agree. I agree. I'm not. We are of the same feather. Nate, what? Go ahead.
So we've all been in the seat. We know what it's like.
Yeah.
Somebody made. I'm thinking I got to go to work on Monday. I'm a little bit more cautious. Now you take my kid who throws sliders from the flag stand. Work next morning. So. I kind of where I'm at with it, though. But like I said, I kind of disqualifying sprint car racing, or open wheel because of like the safety factor, and that's just like a whole different conversation. But as far as
It's a valid conversation. I get it.
Yeah. So the classes that run at Willamette, hands down, the full invert is the best show in the business.
It's about the show.
Yep. Because
Okay.
I'll tell you what. Okay. How many times have we seen Bryson James, Joey Tanner, Colin Weinbarger, Dakota Goddard, Ron Schinkel? I mean, all these guys start from the back, and they got 30 to 40 laps to calculate it out, and it ends up being like a really good, tight finish, too. It's not like somebody just ran away with it.
I like the drag race on the last 4 laps.
It's an equalizer. That's what keeps guys coming back. That's what I was saying earlier. You get a guy that's new to the sport, or he's been gone a while, he comes back, or he's in the first couple rows, and at the end of the race, he's battling with one of those names that he just said. Tanner, Bryson James, Dakota Goddard, Ron Schinkel, any of those guys. And you got your stars in all classes, but he's battling with those guys. He's fast enough to stay up there, but the fast guys are coming at the end. He's in the top 5 against some of those big names. That guy's coming back. You put him to the back of the field, and he's a lap down, 5 laps in. Where's the incentive for that guy to come back?
That's a good point.
Well, then this is when this is all opinion. You can have a different opinion than mine. I'm talking about tradition. I'm talking about the show. I'm talking about where dirt track racing came from, okay, and where some of it still is. Claire Arnold was a freaking genius the way he set up his shows. His stands were packed. There was 150 cars in the pits every week. Right? Okay.
Yep.
Because everybody had a shot to win. That doesn't mean those guys are going to win from the front row. That doesn't mean those guys are going to win. Probably not going to in most cases. But we've seen them. We've seen those guys win.
No, I think traditionally sprint car racing, at least with the big series, not necessarily like World of Outlaws or anything, because World of Outlaws now, they used to do like a 4 or 6 car invert. Now they're starting their quick time guy on the pole of Heat 1 and so forth and so forth. Yeah, so it's just, you know, they've kind of gone about it and said, we're going to have our showcase. You know, we have our 10 to 12 guys that we take around the country that follow the whole tour. Everybody else is like locals that fill in. But you look at like USAC, quick time starts 6 in Heat 1. You know, it's a 6-car invert, much like Wingless Sprint Series. USAC doesn't do a dash and stuff, and then say, okay, the top 8 qualifiers that transfer out of the heat races, it'll be an 8-car invert. So it's an invert, but it still puts your 8 fastest guys up front. And hopefully there's like a little bit of a separation. But I mean, let's face it, we've all seen it. A guy, you know, maybe just miss a little bit in the heat race, got to go to the semi, you know, or the B main, and comes like out of the B main, and boom, he's in the top 3 with 5 laps to go. So that just shows you can run from the back, and so that's an argument that, okay, well, you know, if a guy can make a run from the back coming from the B main, the full invert is actually still a good idea.
You know, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not. You're right. Because you got to remember what we're doing here.
They just do the invert a little bit different, and they end up with their fastest 8 guys up front inverted based off of, you know, qualifying. You know, with Willamette classes, qualifying is everything. That's going to determine where you're at, you know.
Most of the time, yes.
Yeah. And, you know, because there's passing points for, you know, where you started, where you finished, you know. The points chasers, that's a great way to make points. If you're sandbagging qualifying or you're not a good qualifier, you're probably not going to make any points. You know, the guy that goes from the back to 5th is going to make more than the guy that starts on the pole and ends up winning it.
Right. And that's why,
so,
you know,
an equalizer too.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's an equalizer, but it keeps competition. It keeps things competitive. You know.
Yeah.
Now, and like we said earlier, the chances of a guy being new or a guy, you know, being on the front row, whatever the case may be, if he's on the front row, it's because there's a reason. Okay. He wasn't fast in qualifying, probably isn't fast all the time in qualifying, but it gives him a chance to be competitive. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's been times we've had to look at things and say, no, wait a second. That guy's 2.5, 3 seconds off the pace. And we've done it. Now, okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talking about this rule, and a lot of guys have brought it up, okay, and I understand it. But if you're that much faster than a guy, do what Claire said. Drive around him. You're the faster guy. You're the more professional guy. You've got the better equipment. You've got more talent. Drive around him.
It's going to happen anyways after the first.
Exactly. If you put that guy to the back.
I hate to be the devil's advocate here,
but there is a other side of that coin. There is, and it's a legit side.
So how about we're up against the clock? You know, Bill decides not to water. Track takes rubber. Now everybody's fast.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And here's the other side that I and other officials, when it happens, we have to look at. Okay. If there is this guy on the front row that is 2.5, 3 seconds off the pace and historically doesn't have really good equipment, has been in some incidents, okay, you've got to look at that. And it might sound biased, and it's not, but you've got to look at the people. You've got to look at the driver sometimes and say, you know what, this guy's getting a little better, but we're going to put him to the back for a safety deal. We've done that. Done that, and sometimes it makes things better. Sometimes it doesn't. You know, there's a lot of variables in motorsports, but it's show business. It really is show business. Okay, you as a sprint car driver, wingless sprint driver, your kids wingless sprint drivers, and all the names you just mentioned earlier, when they get behind the wheel of a car on a track, what are they doing? They're racing, but they're putting on a show for who? The people in the grandstands. Welcome to show business, okay? Nobody did show business in dirt track racing better than Earl Baltz. He understood this. People bought into it, okay? Look what he did for dirt track racing.
Yep.
Dirt track racing is more popular now than NASCAR, and that's supposed to be the elite levels. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, and one thing I wanted to comment on earlier, about Corey Day. You mentioned how much money he's already won this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I do know that because he runs for Jason Myers Racing.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was Ronnie Day, legend in NorCal sprint car racing, all up and down the West Coast. But I think it's pretty much a guarantee he's going to be pretty up there in the finishing order. And I'm pretty sure the way his contract is written is it's a minimum of this per night, and then the results dictate, a different pace. So I'm saying out of that $250,000 that you guys mentioned earlier, I would say at least $100,000 of that is in his pocket, which for an 18-year-old just graduated high school, that's killer money.
So you think his percentage on his contract is that high? That's not quite 50%, but I mean.
Well, I know that the kind of the standard deal with a lot of these big teams is you win an event like whether it be NARC or High Limit or a World of Outlaw show or a prelim night at Knoxville, whatever. You're getting about 40% of that on a win.
If you're one of the professional signed drivers to a contract you're talking about, driving, yeah. 40%. It's not. That's pretty good because I think what's it pay to win a World of Outlaw race? Like $8 or $9 grand.
I think their standard is 10. I know the cheapest High Limit race is 12,000
to the winner.
Yeah,
that's not bad money.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like what I know a lot of people, get tired of hearing the name Kyle Larson, but you watch what he did. Him and that car owner Paul Silva did at Knoxville. They won their prelim night.
I know where this is going.
They put him. He was high point guy, so he started on the pole for the main event. Okay, 50 laps around Knoxville. Okay, and at the halfway point, he has the opportunity to change tires and refuel the car and make adjustments like anybody else. Paul Silva looks at the tires, kind of licks his finger, rubs the tire, gives it the old hawk to, and says, "No, I'm keeping those tires on."
He did.
They're in a position to win $190,000, and he's saying, "Nah, the tires I got are good enough." And the tires that they ran at Peevely and at Oskaloosa were somebody else's throwaways.
That's a fact. I saw that.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how much Larson's making out of that deal from Silva, but let's just face it. I mean, between him and Silva, they just split, $190,000 at the Knoxville Nationals.
A lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, and it, what they won at the Ironman 55, the prelim night before the Ironman 55, the front row challenge at Oskaloosa, they won all that. He's running tonight at Tulare. He won his heat race, so.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that team is rolling. But, I mean, you look at Kyle Larson, even when he went to go run with Kevin Rumley in the late model, and you look at, the cars that he's ran throughout his whole entire career, with the exception of Chip Ganassi Racing, every car that he's got in is a winning car.
That helps.
Hands down. Yeah, hands down. It's I mean, literally, it's the, I always say it's like, okay, it's the chemistry and stuff, but, let's face it, he does, I mean, let's just face it. If he were to get a call from any of the late model teams here, right? Hey, come drive our car. Probably not going to happen. Not saying that anybody's equipment's not good enough. It's just he has that special connection with the car owners that he drives for, that those cars are good enough to win on any given night.
Well, you look at, okay, let's go to what you just said. Let's go to Willamette, okay?
Uh-huh.
And let's take, We're talking talk late models. Okay, that's just because you brought it up. Okay, let's take the 46 car, the 13 car, the 22 car, the 18 car. Who else? We got the 37 car. Give me. What do we got? That's 5. What else? 99. We have the 99 car, 08 car. Okay, and let's just say we throw in. Who else we got there in the? Okay, there's 7 cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's 7 what I would call elite cars. But here's the best thing about it is there's such a mixture between what the rolling chassis are and then the power plant, the diversity of the power plant. And you look on any given night, the motor or the guy that's got 525, 550 horsepower is knocking the socks off an open motor.
Why is that? Now let me wait, stop right there. Let me ask you a question. Take those 7 cars I just mentioned. Most of those cars, most of them, not all, have a 525. There's a few guys that don't. You're never going to see a crate motor in their cars. We know who those guys are.
Right.
Put Kyle Larson in any one of those cars that will Willamette, a 40-lap feature from the back. What happens?
Oh, he's coming to the front. I mean, honestly, he's coming to the front because here's the thing. Willamette Speedway, and this is the reason why I love Willamette Speedway. I mean, as a sprint car guy, I was like, it eats tires. You know what? It doesn't eat tires. All tracks eat tires, and I'm kind of sick of hearing about it, honestly, because tires are expensive. But here's the thing: if you're overpowering your car, you're not setting your car to get into the grip of the track to where it's not just spinning tires on top of it, you're wasting your time. I'm sorry, I don't think any car at Willamette Speedway needs 900 horsepower. It just doesn't.
Needs, no. Has,
okay.
A bunch of them do. Occasionally they win. But you got to remember, where Willamette late models come from. They evolved from Claire Arnold's Outlaw class, which had no weight limit. 410 cubic inch, 434 cubic inch aluminum sprint car motors, Donovans, sideboards, no tops, wedge noses, deck heights that were, pretty high.
Those cars were glued to the track.
Right. And
so
what won back then, big motors, big motors won races. What wins races today on late models?
Shocks.
Yep. There's the end of that conversation. I mean, when you got a CT 525 blown by guys that got 900 to 1,000 horse and walking away, it obviously isn't the motor. And it can't be the driver's that much better. I mean, drivers got a lot of input into it, but what's your shock package? Let's look at that.
I mean, are we talking $3,000 to $4,000 for a shock setup?
No, more.
I'm talking, like if you got a good guy, you're endorsing their product, they're giving you, cost on them or whatever, But here's the other thing too. Okay, you look at the CT 525. Okay, if you don't run the piss out of them, to where they're just, exceeding their limit, how long will one of those motors last compared to one of those open motors?
Well, that's a good question because we've seen guys like, I don't know, the one guy that's had the worst luck in the world I've seen with CT 525s is Doug Elkins. Then you get guys like Joey Tanner that won 3 championships running them. I mean, it's just kind of the luck of the draw, I mean, you're getting something that somebody else built that's a mass-produced product versus a custom built, like from Cornet or.
And honestly, I don't think anything should go to crate motor racing. I'm just talking about how many of those CT 525s can you buy compared to the open motor?
Well,
so if you're a weekly or local or regional racer, and the 525 program is proven at Willamette Speedway in that class, you're like, okay, well, I can buy 3 of these 525 motors to what it's costing me to buy a used Clement or one of those big open motors, right? And I can run it 50 races before I do anything to it, and I can cycle motors out. I can get through the whole year, on
maybe. You might get that one mass-produced piece of junk that goes out and blows up in track pack. I mean, that's the problem with the 525s is they're great. It's honestly, in all the dirt track racing right now, it's the best value, but
Right.
that's if you get a good one.
Right. And honestly, I'm looking at it from like a sprint car point of view. Like in the Midwest, the LS package with CT 525 is based off of.
Right.
Knoxville Raceway got rid of their 305 sprints because it was just a turd, and they went to this what they call pro sprints now, which is a CT 525. It's all it's all gone through by Pace Performance down in Texas, and they go through it and everything, and everybody's got the same thing. And you know what? They put on a pretty good show, and they're still drawing 45, 50 cars a show.
So, okay, we kind of hit pit lane here for a minute, but let's go back to where this whole thing started at the beginning of the show. I want your opinion on this whole Austin Dillon deal.
I think it's pretty evident that he knew that he had to win to get in, and he had absolutely no respect for anybody else.
None. What happens when any driver does what he does and has no respect for the situation? What happens?
Well, unfortunately, see, if we look at what NASCAR ended up handing down for the punishment, and they said he's not eligible for the championship now. They docked 25 points, docked Carr on 25 points. Joey Logano, who was rightly pissed off about it, made a poor choice down pit lane and got fined $50,000 for his actions on pit lane for endangering other people that were walking on pit lane. But let's face it, Austin Dillon, he's never been like what I would consider a top-tier driver. He's never been one that can put 3-4 races in a row, makes you think, yeah, I'm here to play, I'm the real deal, or anything like that. He's just been kind of like, oh, he's okay on a plate track, or he's okay here, but he went in there, and if you listen to the Dillon's audio, the spotter told him, we put you in the position here, it's all on you from here, whatever you want to do.
So he consciously made that choice to go out and wreck two drivers to get the win. Now,
well, I think definitely the first, Logano, when he wrecked Logano, yeah, that was on purpose. I think Hamlin was kind of just victim of circumstance of Dillon trying to gather the car back up. If you look at the overhead,
I'm going to disagree with you on that because of what Austin Dillon said himself. But
I thought that was satire when he said that was payback for Larson.
Well, regardless, when you do stupid stuff like that, people get hurt, or people can get hurt. There's no respect for anybody that does something like that.
Well, and I mean, if I can say it, it's really kind of a chicken shit move. It's like, okay, the guy up front is, I mean, let's face it, NASCAR, whether it's a short track or a super speedway, it's so aero dependent on cookie cutter cars,
Right. Garbage racing.
So when you're like what Logano said, I'm no big Logano fan, but he said when a guy comes from 4 car lengths back and drives fast enough in the corner to where he wouldn't normally stick, because if he could go in the corner that fast, he would have done it the lap before.
Right.
But he didn't. He waited till the last lap, last corner, so there wouldn't be any retaliation. And he did what he did.
But NASCAR has allowed that for 20 years, or since Dale died, that kind of became the norm, and it's a terrible product.
Look, I mean, even before that, you look at when Dale would turn Labonte at Bristol. I didn't mean to dump him. I just meant to rattle his cage.
Right. And I actually, in that situation, I'm not saying it because I'm a Dale fan. He probably didn't mean to dump him.
No.
But what we saw with Dillon, 100% intent. And I honestly, if I'm the guy at the top of NASCAR, Dillon's not getting in the car for a while.
So let me ask you this, Cory. Okay, if I'm up in the press box and I'm watching that race, and that race at Willamette Speedway, right? The Dillon gets DQ'd. Or gets sent to the back or whatever for dumping him. With our house rule, Logano would have got a spot back where his car was too damaged to continue anyway.
Correct.
So now you're just thankful to be the guy that's in third place. And you're going, okay, now I did what I had to do. I stayed my nose out of trouble. And, but I'll tell you this, if it's me as the race director making that call, he's going to the back. Now, if it supersedes that and say, wait a minute, we can't let that just be that, because we saw really big extenuating circumstance where he came from way back to do it. We're not talking about just coming in and throwing a slide job. We're talking about he just come in to be a bulldozer.
And that's the problem right there, is the intent.
Yes.
That wasn't a racing deal. That was 100% intentional. And when you do that, you are no longer a race car driver. You are a liability. You know what I mean? Right. I mean, there's no place for that in racing. There's no place for that in racing at any level, because you're talking about people getting hurt. Okay, we already play a game that's dangerous enough with everybody doing the same thing, going the same direction and competing. But when one guy lets his emotions get a hold of him, or he wants something so bad he's willing to hurt somebody, that's not racing.
Right. And honestly, I think probably NASCAR probably would have come up with the same thing, but from a PR side, the best thing that Dylan could have done is said, yep, I did what I did, I own it, and have some remorse. But he didn't do that.
Okay, so where's the honor in the win? There is none. Okay, and taking that eligibility from the championship, do you think, I'm asking you, you've been around this game a long time, do you think that's penalty enough for that driver?
No.
Absolutely not.
No, because I'll tell you this, okay? You look at when
because if you don't do something about it now, it's going to snowball like it has forever at the NASCAR level, and then it trickles down. Okay.
Right, and because let's face it, just like the old adage, what happens on Sunday sells on Monday, or happens the next week at a local track.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's look at it this way. You take a place like, let's say that the grudge gets held till, like, let's say Talladega, and Logano retaliates on a track that big, you're killing somebody.
100%. That could happen on a track like Willamette. It doesn't matter the size of the track. It's what can happen in an accident, and then you do it with intent. There's nothing about that that's good.
Mm-mm. But to be honest, I think a lot of the stuff that stems from places like Bowman Gray.
Yeah, I mean, that right there, that's kind of goes about where we're talking about marketing your racetrack. That is Bowman Gray. I mean, if you're a real race fan, that is probably one of the worst ways to market your racetrack.
Yeah.
I mean, people do not go to Bowman Gray to watch a race. They go to Bowman Gray to wait for the fight and the cops.
Yep.
Am I right? I mean, tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
Bowman Gray is not a race fan's track. It's a gang member's track. It's stupid.
Right. I mean, and you think about the stupid amount of money that's been just like, okay, I got wrong. I'm going to go not only wreck your car, but I'm going to wreck my car in the process.
And destroy 4 other guys behind you.
Well, and on top of it, and I've seen it time and time. You can go look up videos on YouTube about it, and the guy goes to retaliate. The official's standing out in the middle of the track trying to stop him from going and doing it. He almost runs over the official.
Right. Bowman Gray is just a circus. It's a bunch of clowns. It's not racing. It's junk. It's like NASCAR.
That's what breeds this type of stuff,
Yeah, it does. It trickles all down, and then this new generation of drivers see that and think that's what racing is, and then they bring it to your local track, and you've got problems. You've got insurance problems. You got injuries. You're holding up the show because the ambulance is there, and it's there's nothing about that's good. Nothing about it is good. There's nothing about it that's entertaining.
I mean, Cory, think back to the conversation that we had at the drivers' meeting on Saturday.
Yep.
The conversation you had with the Hornet division. You're a great division. You're an entertaining division, but we got to clean it up because we're going to get somebody hurt, killed, or we're going to end up with where we were on Friday night,
Right, and then look what happened after that conversation took place at that meeting. Look at the Hornet race after that.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was a great race.
Beautiful.
But the fact that you have to say something like that, you should never have to say something like that to the drivers.
Well, I'm just thankful that the ones that did compete on Saturday were receptive and respectful enough to listen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get it. You know, I think Gary said it best. You're driving like this for $100 to win.
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Well, we didn't tear any cars up Saturday night.
No. It was a great show. All the I mean, that, like you were saying before, those dwarf cars. Man, what a show!
Listen, when that was brought to me, the Northwest Dwarf Car Association brought the opportunity to have the Western States Dwarf Car National event at Willamette. They barely finished this sentence before I was like, "What's the date? What's the date? When are we doing it?" You know, I mean, that is, I've seen the videos. I had never seen that event in person. Okay. I am excited about that event at Willamette Speedway going into the future after what I saw this last weekend.
Well, and you understand those cars are probably one of the toughest cars to drive. They're short wheelbase, they're twitchy, a lot of power. They're on a tire that's probably harder than concrete itself. But
look at the racing we saw.
Well,
I mean, we're talking about entertainment value. The fans that paid to get in that night got entertainment value. Good, hard, clean racing, respectful racing. That guys were passing. They were 3 and 4 wide. Not that you can do that. 4 wide in a late model Willamette is not going to happen. But you can get 3 wide. But it was all done with respect and smart racing, and it was, exciting.
Here, I'll tell you this. You want to know racer etiquette? This should be the tutorial for it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, I agree.
Pipe and Benny DiBenedetti.
What a race. And you don't want to know what's crazy? Those kids are 12 and 15 years old. 12 and 15 years old and put on a show arguably better or just as good as any of the veteran drivers, the pro division. I mean, they were that good.
Yeah.
They gave each other room. They raced. I mean, they were, that one race right there was worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you keep your eyes on both those kids, Merrick Pipe and Vinny DiBenedetti.
And Cory, how many kids realize that if you put your mind to something and chase your dreams, that what Merrick Pipe was on Saturday night? You put enough effort in, you chase your dreams.
That's right.
I guarantee you, if there's any kart kids sitting in those stands, their fire just got relit.
Oh, no doubt. They just got a new hero.
Yeah.
Yep. Right on. Well, we're going to see you this weekend at Willamette, right?
Absolutely. We're bringing a Micro Madness tour Friday and Saturday, and we're.
Here's what I like about the Micro Madness that's coming this weekend. This is what I like about it. Friday night, where are you guys at?
We're on Little Willie, wingless.
They're on the wingless. They're running wingless on the little track on the infield Saturday night, putting the wings on, going to the big track.
And
so you're gonna see who excels where,
right?
With different setups and gearing, and so that's for me. That's what I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch that series because of that. It's gonna be entertaining.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, from the burbles that I got, you're going to see a lot of respectful racers, really respectful racers. I realize that we're kind of a little bit shortchanged because another division took their series to Elma, which was set up way long ago. I think that track is just a little bit too big for these cars,
Yeah, I agree. But I gotta give you kudos. It's a bold move to decide to become a series promoter, no less, after the race season has started and start building something, and making it work. I think you're gonna do well with that. I like what you're doing with the safety in that division. I like what you're doing with the rules, and I think it's gonna be a great deal where you've got enough tracks that are different, with and without wings, You know, it's going to be an awesome deal. I'm excited for it. I look forward to seeing what you do and supporting it.
Right now, my whole intention going into this is, number one, I don't want to step on anybody else's toes. Okay? But number two, you look at micro sprint racing in the state of Oregon, and it's basically dominated by either Sunset Speedway, that's pretty much the only outdoor place to run micros, and then Salem Indoor,
Right, but if you want to talk micro sprint racing, Sunset Speedway is probably the ideal track for those cars.
Oh, absolutely. Let's face it, if I had pockets that were deeper than the Mariana Trench, I'd be building my own 6 mile,
Yeah, look at Sunset, the way it's put together, and look at the way those cars race. I mean, you're not going to find a better track, I don't think, in the Northwest for micro sprints than we have at Sunset. Track was made for that type of car.
Right.
And they're my days there in 2015 as the announcer and watching those cars, it's entertaining. It's great. It's good racing.
Well, and give credit to where credit's due too, because Jeremy has done a wonderful job in keeping the rules consistent, like with what Deming has for their rules, and he basically mirrored so that any car that runs at Deming is completely legal to come at Sunset. And all I did is I took exactly what Deming and Jeremy have at Sunset. The only thing I did is said, hey, if we're going to go and we're going to run in a little bit bigger track, well, maybe for me it's just the benchmark of where the safety should be on any track. Full containment speed, head and neck restraint devices, arm restraints. All those things should be standard. If you're not running those things, you're shortchanging yourself.
Agree.
I'm sorry. As a racer, if I want to shortcut my own safety, that's on me. But, when it comes to, like, my son, I'll tell you honestly, after, years and years and years, my kids have never gone without the proper safety devices. Justin's still a little bit old school. He still likes wearing the donut around his neck. But, we got another head and neck device for him to at least sit in the car and try, and he was not a fan of it. So we're going to be looking at some different ones for him. But, you look at Austin, he's got the Nomex underwear, Nomex socks, 3-layer glove.
Well, every racer should have that.
Absolutely.
Take care of yourself. You want to live to race another day in a bad accident, have that stuff. But
and I told him, I said, you better learn to like it now. And he's never objected. He's always gone with it. But now that he's in a micro sprint that runs on methanol, and methanol, granted, it's a scary fuel. But the other thing too is your safety team, okay, along with Cody Cormigan, who'll be here this weekend as well. You look at your safety team, one of the most prepared safety teams, like you were talking with Megan White's crash, okay. That safety team was so on point. You and I talked about it. You said, look at this video, look how quick those lights came on. Look at who's on foot, blah, blah, blah. I was like, you know what? I said, because you have a great team.
We do. It's I think it's imperative every track has somebody,
Right.
And maybe it's not a full team. Maybe you got 2 or 3 guys, but if they know what they're doing and they're good, like Cody Cormican, he pops in. He's mostly at Sunset. He pops in at some of the events when he can help out here. Or he travels down to Roseburg. And that kid is if he continues to do what he's doing, he's going to be like the guy in that whole thing. He's a good young man. He's going to school. He's learning this stuff to protect these drivers. He's got everything he needs to protect himself and the drivers on his buggy. That was just an added bonus to what we're going on at the Dwarf Car Nationals. But, it takes all of us and drivers too. But, a lot of these drivers will go buy a retire and wear a helmet that's 25 years old.
Right.
We see that all the time. And you just can't, I think as a promoter, if you allow that, you're putting yourself in a bad position because what happens if, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So you gotta have a standard. You've got to have a standard with belts or helmets or whatever the case may be. It's protecting them from themselves a lot of the times, and your facility, if you want to keep it open and keep it racing. But Nate, I am looking forward to seeing you guys this weekend at Willamette Speedway. And then, are you guys hanging out for the Texas Hippie Coalition concert?
Well, I'm gonna say yes, but unfortunately, Austin's gonna have to find something to do to keep himself occupied because that's gonna probably be a big one. I don't think the fake ID is bad.
Yeah,
I mean, he is taller than Keiko, though. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to the concert. I'm gonna let you guys go out and grab your dinner, and we will talk tomorrow at the track at least, and then
yeah,
you guys have a great night. Thanks for calling in and talking, man. It's always good to talk racing with someone.
no problem. But, once again, touching, that full invert, that I think is got to be the staple, the benchmark, because especially at the Willamette classes, I wish more tracks would do it, because the guys that are starting at the back, they can drive and they can drive clean,
Right.
and they don't have to bulldoze their way through. Look, you can say it all day long. People like Dakota Goddard, Ron Schinkel, especially, Schinkel's got a 602 crate in his car, so pretty much everything he's got, he's putting down, and he's passing cars. He's in the top 5 by like lap 3.
Mm-hmm.
So every time that he passes, he's earned it because he's got his program so dialed.
Right, and that also earns some passing points towards the championship, and he's clearly chasing the title. Why wouldn't you want to start in the back?
Car guy, and last year I became a big fan of the street stocks because they're so dang exciting to watch.
No, hands down. I don't care what class of car is your favorite. If you're not entertained by the street stocks at Willamette Speedway, you probably don't have a soul. You know what I mean? It's just there's so much talent in that field, and we're going to see that coming up. And that's a good segue going into the Iron Giant race coming up, which we'll talk about probably next week as well. But 100 laps, 1,000 to win, good money for these guys. We're going to talk more about that later on. I'm excited to have that race back at Willamette Speedway. The big one.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great show. We got some news on that coming up. We're going to talk about that, and we will see you at the track tomorrow, Nate. I want you to have a good night. And we are going to – what time is it? We got a few minutes. We're talking about some other stuff.
Big hello from me, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
See you, Nate.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Good conversation. Made some valid points and a lot of stuff. Nate's been around the sport a long time. He's seen it a lot. I just got some news here that I can't release.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But it's good. But Iron Giant, let's talk about that because I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. Okay? As far as the format of that show, single car qualifying, the way it should be. 8 car heats with a 6 car invert. So the fast car in the field will start 6 out outside row 3 of 4 rows. So let's say we're going to do this, how we're going to set the heat races up. Let's say, Gary, you're the fast qualifier. You're going to start outside row 3 in the first heat. I'm second fast qualifier. I'm going to start outside row 3 in heat 2. Keiko's third fast. She's going to start outside row 3 in heat 3 and down the line. Okay? That's how we're going to do that for the heat races. Okay? We're going to lock the top 4 in if there's 3 heats, top 3 in if there's 4 heats into the show. Okay? I'm locking top 12 in. Top 12 will be a full invert. Okay? The top 12. And then we're going to go 5th place cars. 3. Okay, so we're going to start 20 cars. So we're taking 8 out of the B or 4 if there's 2 Bs, depending on how many car count. So these guys are going to have to race their way in, but they're still going to have to earn it because there is an invert.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to earn it. There's no gimmies. But it's $1,000 to win. You got 100 laps to work with. You can't win it on the first lap.
Key point right there.
I don't care if it's a trophy dash or if it's a 100 lapper. You can't win it on the first lap. And there's a lot of people trying to do that right now. Patience will win you a race.
Yeah.
Okay. These street stocks, you put $1,000 up, you're gonna get a show. You're gonna get a show. Much like the gyms. The gyms up at at Sunset. I mean, there was only I think 18 cars there, but think about the 18 cars that were there. There's 18 really good cars. You don't have to have 100 cars to have a great show. No. And if we get 40 cars to show up at this Iron Giant, or we get 50, we get 30, you're gonna get the better of the best. You're gonna get the cream of the crop. You might, you're gonna get your guys that are still building their programs. But with this invert deal, and you race your way in, you still got a shot. I'm excited about this. It's, 100 laps for street stocks at Willamette. I don't think we've ever done that. Not that I can remember. I might be wrong, but I don't remember ever seeing a 100 lapper with street stocks.
So what's the fuel stop on that? Is it going to be 50 laps?
I think we're going to get, and that's something that was discussed. I think 50 laps will be the mark, or as close to, give or take, based upon caution,
Now, how's that going to work? Are we going to do like everybody stops on the backstretch?
Yes.
So
on the backstretch, on the bottom, on the apron.
bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of what happened. That's what we told the late models to do. Some guys didn't do it. They stopped on the banking. Fuel got spilled. And where does it go? Right down on the track. Now we got to roll it in. Get down on the apron. Keep your cars level. We'll do your fuel. We'll do your air pressure. You're not allowed to touch the car with any tools whatsoever. Typical competition red at Willamette. No tools. You're not bringing tools out. You can bring two guys. One guy can set air pressure. One guy can put fuel in. We'll probably have it limited to a 5-minute stop. Keep things rolling. It's 100 laps. You know what I mean? So, but I'm excited about this. I mean, it's going to be a great show, and the Iron Giant races always draw a really good, competitive crowd of cars. Fans love it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And that's one of those deals where you don't say, I'm putting my money on that guy. A lot can happen in 100 laps, especially with this series.
Sure can.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Coors Light late models are at Medford coming up, 2-day show down there. They got a great big show going on. A lot happening right now. There's a lot going on, and it's a tough game, what we do on this side of the business. Racers can go anywhere they want, if the classes are there. And that's been kind of an issue. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You're looking at me like, you know what I mean, but it's really, I think we've got a good thing here in the Northwest. We can fine tune it a little bit, make things a little bit better. But there's been a lot of change. At a lot of tracks the last few years. And I think once we get everything ironed out and the wrinkles and everybody's doing their thing and builds their programs with the Northwest, this will be really, really good. What are you laughing about? What do we got? What are you laughing about?
I'll let you find it.
I don't even know where what am I looking for? Where am I at? Am I on the Willamette page? Or at the Under the Hood page?
Under the hood.
Under the Hood. Let me get over there. So when I see that, I want to know. What?
Nothing.
Something's going on.
Nothing.
And I love Endicott. He's always good for something. He's always got a okay, we're right there. I'm not seeing it. My page isn't updating.
That's too bad. You missed out.
Read it to me. Oh, he dropped his phone, broke the screen.
Did. Oh, jeez.
Broke the screen.
I have to call in sick tomorrow.
Did you take tomorrow off, dog? Oh, yeah. I don't even know if I want to read that on the air because K-Mac might beat him up. That's great. Kelly.
Watching can read it.
Well, yeah, everybody watching can read it, but there's a lot of people that are listening, and that's we're having fun here. It's not like Well, okay, Brian Smith says, JJ, I'll change the number. You run the first 50, he'll run the second. Do it. You're taking that car to the back when you restart, though, and you change those drivers. I wonder if K-Mac knows it and it calls that car that. I mean, you know why he calls the K-Mac car that. I mean, Kelly McDonald's cars have always been beautiful, always. You look at the car this year, and it's got a blue front end, and it's got a yellow fender, and it's got this and that, and all these different colors. And Endicott has, he's the crew chief on that car. He calls it the LGBTQ car. It's funny. We're not slamming anybody. We're not being disrespectful. It's funny. So, anyway, guys, we got a huge weekend at Willamette this weekend, 2-day show. Texas Hippie Coalition in the house. Bring your party shoes. It's about to go down. The stage is there. Lights are coming in tomorrow. Everything's getting set up. We're going to turn this thing up. If you don't know who the Texas Hippie Coalition is, there's this thing called YouTube. It's a social media thing. We kind of talked about it tonight. Get on there, search them. Find your favorite song. Be ready to party.
Memorize the music by tomorrow.
Yeah, good luck with that.
My boss from the penitentiary, my old boss, reached out and says, hey, I heard the Hippie Coalition is going to be, or Texas Hippie Coalition is going to be at your track. Is that true?
Your boss from the penitentiary is coming to the show?
He was thinking about it, but he can't. He's OD, so he has to behave. So he has to stay home because he's on call.
Okay. All right. Well, I was in a sandwich shop today. I told you about it.
Yes.
And then the girl sees my shirt. She goes, hey, I'm going to be there tomorrow. I look down. Oh, I got a Willamette Speedway shirt on. And she says, I'm coming to watch the Texas Hippie Coalition. I'm like, you know about them? I didn't know about them until like 4 months ago, and I didn't realize it was going to be this big of a deal. It's a big deal. Race cars, Southern Rock. I don't know if you heard the KRK or the KRKT commercial we put out this weekend, this week. It was a lot of fun. Everybody down there is excited. I think we'll see a lot of the people from cricket, but I'm excited to see people from all over. It's a great thing for Willamette Speedway. People that have never been to a race. You know who those people include? I found this out today. Texas Hippie Coalition. None of those guys have ever been to a race.
Really?
None of them have ever been to a race. They're going to be at the track, watching the races. Then they're going to get on stage and turn it up. I keep saying turn it up because that's one of their most popular songs. It's called Turn It Up. And they turn it up, believe me. This is cool. It's going to be a good deal. But we're going to come back next week on Under the Hood with all new topics. We're going to we'll recap this. We'll talk more about the Iron Giant. We'll talk about all kinds of cool stuff and what happens during the week. You guys want to follow us? Facebook, Under the Hood page. We've got it. Go like it. Listen to it. You got something to say, something you want to talk about next week on the show? You got the number. It's posted in the comments. Call in. We'll put you on the air. We'll have a discussion. I'm not going to hate you. Let's talk racing. That's what it's all about. Let's get under the hood.
Talk about who else can come to the show for a concert, like maybe Tyler Childers, George Strait.
We'll do that when you put up that kind of money. These guys here aren't cheap. I'll tell you that. We looked at Sammy. It was like, everyone knows I'm a big Hagar fan. That was one of the first guys I looked at to do these concerts. You can get him for 2 hours for $750. Kid Rock, you better have a check where you can write that $1 million because that's what it's going to cost to get him there.
Have you checked Kenny Montgomery yet?
Who? Who's that? KMO Music?
Yeah.
Oh, I know you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It's a dirt track thing. He might be popular. Maybe we got to get him out here with his cars. He does race. But, guys, we're going to step out of here. We're throwing the checkered flag on another edition of Under the Hood. I'm Cory Penfold, co-host Gary Grip. Keiko had to bark in a little bit there, but we'll let her hang out in the studio. Come back next week right here on Under the Hood, 7 o'clock. We got all kinds of stuff we're going to talk about next week. We'll see you at the races this weekend. And hopefully every other weekend from here on out. Season's kind of starting to wind down. Come out and join us at Willamette Speedway, the fastest 1/3 mile dirt track on the West Coast. We'll see you at the races.